sneak attack right there.
I am very, very sneaky, sir.
Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. I own a few fragrances. I don't know if you've noticed, and by a few, I mean a few thousand. Yeah, it takes up a lot of room. Yeah, it's normal, it's normal. And if I were placed into the unenvious position of having to rebuy fragrances, the 10 that I'm gonna share with you today would be right up toward the top of that list, some of the first things I would pick up. These are fragrances that I will always own a bottle of no matter what, even if there was somehow a big earthquake where I lived, which they don't happen here, so if that happens, weird stuff's going on. But if it did, and all my bottles came tumbling down, I would immediately scoop these back up. All of the fragrances I'm going to talk to you about here today are linked in the description. Feel free to check them out down there. And also an update for the JOMASHOP codes. They only work in the JOMASHOP app, but as of November 18th, they will be changing. It's like the bi-monthly change, but this is what they're going to be changing to. Before November 18th, the codes that I've been presenting to you, those will still work, but these new ones go into effect on that date. And there's additional codes there this time, so you can save even more money on JOMASHOP, and then the usual codes for Fragflex, the Perfume Box, Beauty House, all those are staying the same. And with the fragrances that I chose for today's list, 5 of them are fragrances that you'll probably recognize right away. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then 5 are fragrances that maybe fly under the radar a little bit more. And let's get started with one of those, Guerlain Homme. Now, this is the old style presentation. You're not gonna find them looking like this anymore, unfortunately. The Guerlain Homme line has basically been placed into that bottle style that Guerlain uses for almost everything, it feels like. The L'Homme Ideal bottles, like that. So, unfortunately, this little beautiful bottle like this, you'll have to seek out and buy somewhere like eBay or something, but I don't think you should actually do that. You can still buy Guerlain Homme nowadays, but it's Guerlain Homme Eau de Parfum. Like I said, comes in that different bottle style. And that one is a little bit closer to Guerlain Homme Intense, but still, it gets the job done. And actually thinking about it now, I have Guerlain Homme Eau de Parfum. I should have just grabbed that bottle, but I wanted to showcase this one. Huh. Yeah, I didn't really think that through. So I would buy both this one and Guerlain Homme Eau de Parfum, I guess, is what I'm saying. This has notes of lime, mint, and vetiver. It's really well known for having a mojito vibe. So it's got this boozy sweetness to it, very fresh and brisk in the opening with almost a slight tropical feel. Then as it dries down, it gets more woody as that vetiver comes out. The main drawback with this one, the Eau de Toilette, was always the performance. Not great. That being said, with Guerlain Homme Eau de Parfum, the performance is better. It's still not beast mode, but it lasts longer, it projects a bit better. An absolute stunning fragrance no matter which way you cut it for spring and summertime that helps set you apart. It's very versatile, easy to wear, and a compliment puller, and like most Guerlain fragrances, has a nice little touch of classiness too. Okay, this next one is Y Eau de Parfum. Now, I know that I talk about Y Live a lot as being one that flies under the radar, that I really like, that I've always gotten good compliments with, but I gotta have Y Eau de Parfum. I like just about the entire Y lineup. It's always worked really well for me. That apple off the top mixing with amberwood as it dries down, a bit of sage in the mid as well. Just absolutely amazing for versatility, performance, and compliments. It is one of my favorite blue fragrances of all time, and I gotta have a bottle. To be fair, I would also scoop up Y Live, like I just brought up. I would scoop up Y Eau de Toilette, Y Le Parfum, even Y Eau de Parfum Intense. The only one that I probably wouldn't rush out to buy again is Y Elixir, mainly because of the price point. But you know, as that price drops, if it ever does, that one smells really nice too. I'm a fan of the line. So Y Eau de Parfum, gotta get that, gotta have that. Then Valentino Uomo Born in Roma Intense. This fragrance in the air is stunning. This is just one of those fragrances that gets reaction after reaction after reaction. The performance is there, lasts a long time, projects. It's just everything you could want in a fragrance. It's got a good amount of sweetness in there, has vanilla, and frankly done in a way that I think is nearly perfect because it's very sweet, but it doesn't go so far down that road that, to me anyway, it becomes cloying or too bubblegummy, too syrupy, anything like that. And it has a nice vetiver underneath that helps offset that vanilla a little bit. There's also some lavender in here, keeping things masculine, fresh, and a little bit clean. And it's something that I think you can wear almost year round. Now, it is gonna be better for spring, fall, and winter than middle of summer because, you know, that performance and the sweetness it does have. But this, to me, is the best Valentino Born in Roma fragrance, and I really get a lot of use out of that. So I'd have to get another one. You know, if anything happens, I'm gonna get it. Let's go next with this Carolina Herrera CH Passion for men. Now, this one I believe was a limited edition, but you can still find it. So, you know, as of right now, no big deal. If you want this, it's readily available. It's not super cheap or anything. It's like 90 bucks, but still. 90 bucks a lot better than people asking 300 for something that's been discontinued, right? That's all I'm saying. Now, this thing right here is an iris fragrance. If you do not like iris fragrances, you are probably not gonna like this one. But I happen to really like iris, so works out. So this one has a little bit of neroli and some pink pepper off the top, so nice little zingy freshness when you first spray it on. Also has a little sweet olibanum, like a touch of smoke wafting through. The iris in here has a little bit in common with like Dior Homme Original, but it's not as makeup-y, not as lipstick baggy or anything like that. Or I should have said a lipsticky or makeup baggy. A lipstick bag doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense, does it? I don't know. Then as it dries down, vanilla and tonka mixed together with a creamy sandalwood. Really high quality stuff. Smells amazing, very classy. And the fragrance just keeps getting darker, like the fragrance itself. As this ages, it starts to take on more and more of an ambery kind of color to it. Performance is okay, not amazing, not terrible, but that does give you a little more versatility because stuff like Dior Homme Intense, Valentino Uomo Intense, that can be kind of heavy. So in some situations, you may not want to reach for those. So when you want something that's sort of in that vibe, but like I said, with more freshness, with more of a woodiness as it dries down, then this is a great choice. And frankly, not too many normal people out there are gonna be wearing this. I don't think that sounds as positive as I meant it. People who really appreciate the fine art of fragrances, like yourself and me, will be wearing it. That still doesn't sound any better. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to Dior Homme 2020. Good old Dior Homme 2020 that I lambasted as soon as it came out and just hated all over it. Now look at me. Yeah. What do they call that? Eating crow. Yeah. So when this came out, myself and a lot of other people out there, including a lot of you, don't pretend you didn't, but a lot of us really hated on this. Why? Well, because it was a change. And look, I'm still not super pumped because Dior Homme, which is now known as Dior Homme Original, basically got the axe, okay? It got guillotined. That way this could live. That's one way of putting it. Another way of putting it is Christian Dior likes to use the same names and overall presentation styles, and then they like to sometimes just change stuff up, you know, by discontinuing things, but they want to keep the whole aesthetic the same. Yeah, is that lazy? Is that smart? Is that lazy and smart? Who knows? But that's what they did. Dior Homme, and technically it lived on as Dior Homme Original, but you know, in the US anyway, not super easy to find. So a lot of people were upset, and this has nothing really to do with Dior Homme Original in terms of how it smells. This is fresh, spicy, woody, a very modern, kind of cedary, iso-y, supery, but it is extremely versatile, very classy, very gentlemanly. You can wear this anytime you want. And it's one of those fragrances that as time went on and I kind of got over the whole essential discontinuation of Dior Homme and moving that line away from what it had been, which was very iris forward, and I wore this and accepted it for what it was, I came to really like it. It's like a feel-good story, you know? You move past your prejudices and you begin to accept something for what it is. It's very nice. Or maybe I'm reading into that way too much. Yeah. And now something completely different. Halloween Man X. I love Halloween Man X. It's just one of those cheapies that puts a smile on my face. Some people have drawn comparisons to the smell of Ferragamo Uomo Signature, kind of in that style a little bit. It's got a lot of coffee. So you have to like coffee with this. Actually, kind of a roast coffee, because a lot of times with coffee notes, coffee fragrances, it'll be like a really super sweet coffee, tiramisu, cappuccino, that kind of thing. This has more of like a roast coffee bean kind of vibe. I mean, you get some sweetness in here, don't get me wrong. It's not devoid of sweetness, it's just not as sweet as those other notes. And they really tried to make this one seem hyper masculine when they first announced it. Had a blackjack accord, which was, I think it was leather, whiskey, and coffee all put together, because that's very masculine, I guess. Because I guess you're wearing your leather jacket, trying to look hardcore, and you chug some whiskey, and you're like, uh-oh, I gotta sober up, I'm gonna chug some coffee or something. I don't know, but that's how it was presented when it first was launched. Also has cinnamon, tonka, amber, some cardamom in there as well. A really good for fall and winter time, nice evening scent, and I think the quality much higher than you would expect for that price point, because you can get this about like 35 bucks, maybe a little bit less. Definitely less if you go with the smaller size bottle, but if you get this one, about that. Also gotta go with this, Le Male Elixir, Jean Paul Gaultier. Gotta have that. That's my favorite Le Male fragrance right now. Now to be fair, this gets a whole heck of a lot of hype. So this is a fragrance that I think a lot of people out there would also say, like, oh, you know, I gotta have this if I were gonna only keep 10 or whatever. It's just one of those hype beasts, right? It's funny because I love it so much, and there are times when I smell it and I'm like, that's kind of like rubbery, but in a really good way. Got a great sweetness to it, similar to Le Male Parfum, but not quite as powdery as that one for me. Great performance, big compliment puller. This is another one, fall and winter time, staple. Ooh, I put kind of a monstrous dent in this bottle, actually. Well, to be fair, in consideration to how many fragrances that I wear and go through, yeah, this one gets worn out. So Le Male Elixir, gotta keep that one. Also have to keep Bottled Oud. Now, I know that lately, Bottled Elixir, Bottled Absolute, those have gotten a lot of love, and for good reason, they're fantastic. But kind of throwing it back to Bottled Oud, I've always really liked this. And I remember when this thing first came out, they even put on the box, it was like, contains natural oud. It was always kind of like a funny sticking point. Because they were basically telling you right there on the box, hey man, we're using real natural oud in here. The quality, fantastic. Which, okay. Am I saying that there is no natural oud in here? I'm not saying that. Am I saying how much natural oud is in here? Yeah. You know, if you got 10,000 gallons and you get a little dropper and you go, bloop, and then you go, yeah, natural oud, sucker, put it on the box. So this came out during a time frame where every single designer house was releasing an oud fragrance. So if you've just recently gotten into fragrances, you missed that whole thing, right? But yeah, it was a time frame where everyone was. Every house. Every house. So you know how everybody was trying to put out blue fragrances at one point, and like now a lot of people are doing fragrances that are very warm and sweet and all that? Yeah, everyone was doing oud. Even like Vince Camuto, they had two. They had oud, and then they were like, that's not enough. Smoked oud. But yeah, back to this. Everyone was doing oud fragrances. So it was kind of hard to stand out because a lot of them were in a very, very similar style. And this one basically is what it says it is. It's Bottled with a little oud twist. So that means you have that cinnamon, that apple, and it is quite sweet off the top. There's also saffron in here, which melts together very well with the oud. The oud is pretty easy to wear. You know, it's more of that sweet, spicy, semi-dark kind of woodiness, more so than it is barnyardy. It's got nice projection, nice longevity, good quality, and for me, it was always one of the more playful, but at the same time, easy to wear oud fragrances from that time frame, and I've always really liked it. Also gotta keep Reserve Privé from Givenchy. Going back to that iris, I love iris, and I always gravitate towards iris fragrances, assuming that they're well done, and that one is well done. Like Le Male Elixir, it's a fall and winter time staple for me. Good evening fragrance. Also, you can wear it during the day as well. Has a bit of a woodiness to it, a booziness, also some chestnut. And when you combine all that together with the iris that's in here, which is a little bit makeup-y and creamy, but not as much as like Dior Homme Intense, it makes for a very sexy, classy, cozy, wearable, cool weather fragrance. So gotta keep that, absolutely stunning. And last but not least, Wanted by Night. Now look, I really like the Most Wanted, a bunch, and the Most Wanted Parfum, but there's a soft spot in my heart for Wanted by Night. I can still remember when this fragrance dropped, when it was brand new, talking to some of my fragrance friends at the time when this came out, some of whom aren't even with us anymore. And so yeah, it's just one of these fragrances that's like a flashpoint for me. Like there's certain releases for some people where when they smell it, they remember a lot of things that were going around at that time in their life or whatever. And that's kind of what this one does for me. When I smell it, it brings me back. It brings me back to when this was new. It was an exciting time for me. Fragrance, I think, still stands alone really well. It doesn't smell like it's trying to copy a lot of other things out there. And frankly, there haven't been a whole heck of a lot of things that have come out after this that smell that similar to it. Rich and spicy, sweet with a little hint, just little hint of like funkiness that I think actually elevates this, makes it more interesting, and it has really great performance as well. At one point in time, it was dirt cheap. They could not give this stuff away. What a ringing endorsement. It's a great fragrance. It was dirt cheap. Nobody wanted it. They were practically handing it out for free. You should really try it. Honestly though, it's like a little ahead of its time almost, and it is more expensive nowadays, actually quite a lot more expensive. I even did a couple videos where it was in like my cheapies lists, but it used to be, I think you could get this for like 25 bucks, something like that. Not anymore. So there we go, guys. There's some fragrances that I love, some fragrances that I would always keep. And even though I've got bottles on bottles on bottles, I can smell each one of these, and each one is gonna bring a smile to my face for different reasons. Thank you all so much for hanging with me. Let me know some of the fragrances that you have always gotta keep for one reason or another. Stay safe out there, guys. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See ya.